the chair, put him in the chair, put them elbows in there, get yourself a little rub down real quick. You need a little stress de-stressor, all right? We got some pizza from Hot Box, so shout out to Hot Box, you know what it is. No pun intended. And big shout out to Sun King too, because they're providing the beer. So last year we did something a little bit different. We brought our good friend Andrew Barber here, and he did the inaugural G-Note speech. And this year, M80 hit me up, was like, well, who's doing it this year? And I was like, well, you are. Who? I mean, who else? First of all, I can't say I wouldn't know Andrew if it wasn't for Matt, but I wouldn't have the relationship that I have with Andrew if it wasn't for Matt. So, and I just keep that 100 because we bonded real well at your wedding, and your family's been family to me. And so everybody saw the stunt I pulled with Nouveau. And you know, hey, I love Nouveau. Nouveau's been covering me since I was like 19 years old, so that's a long time if you know the math on that, all right? And I don't know why they just never took a shine at my boy, but it's cool. Because the thing that, and people ask me, why did you bring M80? Like, what's the big deal? You know, he's just the guy, the rapper guy, da-da-da-da. What does he even do? That's what people ask me. I said, there's nobody in the industry that's created his own reality more so than M80. Because Matt comes from Indianapolis where there's no Wu-Tang outlet. Yeah. And all he did was love Wu-Tang, and love Wu-Tang, and love Wu-Tang, and promote Wu-Tang. He didn't even know he was doing record promotion when he was in high school, but that's what he was doing. And so now, he just produced a brand new Ghostface Killer record. And people are like, well, is that fake beats, or is it like licensed verses, or what kind of... No, they're in the studio, they're working. And so, yeah. Look, I'm going to tell you a funny M80 story. I'm really good friends with a sneaker boutique in town. And M80, he's a sneaker king now, but there was a time when he was kind of like bootlegging it a little bit. He was faking it till he made it. And he was selling some, you know, some funny style sneakers. He was getting them from Alibaba or some shit. And you know, now look at his sneaker collection. This shit is all official. So the bottom line is there's a thing that says fake it till you make it, but it's not really fake it till you make it. It's create your own reality, because nobody's going to let you live in their reality. So you have to create your own reality, create your own energy. So that's one thing that Matt Markov has done better than anybody that I know, and that's why he's our 2018 G-Note speaker. Make some noise for Matt Markov.
Everyone, thank you for coming. Chreece 4. I'm very happy to be here, and whether if it was one person in the building or 1,000, you know, you were the chosen people to hear these words. So, you know, I'm thankful to provide you the M80 gospel. I asked Ron the other day, and I made a post for people, you know, attending Chreece to see what would you specifically like me to talk about. Ron said, you know, if people aren't responding to it, why don't you give me your story for half the time and open up for Q&A half the time. So, to condense what got me here today into a half hour or less version of the story. Like Ron said, you know, I have an older brother, Steve, and everything I know in music came from my brother. You know, he's driving me around, and I'm 11 years old, and he's 18, and, you know, introducing me to Cypress Hill, to Beastie Boys, to Tribe Called Quest, to Bone Thugs and Harmony, to so on and so forth. And that, you know, as an elementary school kid, okay, cool, this is what I like. So I have my favorite alternative groups, I have my favorite hip-hop groups, stuff like that. And, you know, from the inception, and you're ingrained with what we would call today, you know, that's real hip-hop, that's the golden era hip-hop. So as I developed throughout the 90s, it's like every artist, you know, I'm 36 now, 21 in my age demographic, or a little younger, a little older, knows.
42,
these were people, these were all artists where it's like you could tell anyone that was like being prosperous, they were getting their record deals, they were getting tours, they were thriving because of their obvious talent. These were people that were ingrained with just verbiage, with lyricism, with panache, whatever you want to call it. And so I never knew that I wanted to be, you know, like behind the business of music. I started rapping when I was 13 years old, ended up writing my first song when I was 16, and just literally never stopped from there. People that I went to Warren Central High School, I went to IUPUI, and the difference between then in my development versus now is anyone that knows me from that era will tell you I did not leave school every day, year in, year out, until I made $100 a day from selling cassette tapes. I used to have to dub one at a time on my parents, like the thing with the vinyl and the CD and the two decks, to IUPUI where I'm making CDs and it's a year in and year out thing. But around that same time is when I started to read publications like Source and XXL, and you see artists, and I still remember it to this day because it's 15, 20 years later, a story with the Locks. And the Locks is a group from New York, and they were, with Bad Boy, with Interscope, and they had gone platinum. Sold 1 million records plus. Everyone in the world knows who they are. Knows Jadakiss, knows Styles P, knows all these people. And Styles P, in their individual interviews, says, for some reason, even though we're the ones selling all the records, the people behind us, the business people, stay having money. We go through periods of financial prosperity, financial inadequacy. And that hit me. I'm like, well, I don't want to ever stop being the artist, but I certainly don't want to sell myself short in life and know that I have potential to do whatever I want to do and to make whatever kind of wealth I want to create, but not, let my pride overpower the fact that I could be doing other things. You didn't hear, like, for instance, if you had a favorite artist in the 90s, that artist, unless you knew them, like their background story, wasn't someone that was in the spotlight, but then worked at like FedEx Kinko's or something. Now, you have to do that. You have to, it's not, people don't have that pride, I think, anymore. The ego is not there. There's not as much financial wealth being spread around to independent artists, to new artists, to people that are on their come up, whereby, it's like we can just afford to live how we want to live and create our music. So that's the greatest thing about it too, is, now it's like, the art is there. There's way more creativity in music. There's way more different genres being invented. The artists are way more versatile and original. And the greatest correlation when people ask me, like, what do you think about, say, the same originality of it. My friend Andy, he represents that time. It's still flattering and it's honest to tell the people how a song they wrote might have changed your life. How, something got you through a hard time. And that's the greatest thing about music and why my whole identity in the business I've built, the artists, which I consider my dream roster, every artist that I grew up admiring, I've worked with at one point in time. Literally the only person I've never worked with ever is Dr. Dre. And once that happens, there's no one really left on the list that I got to start getting some new people. But that's the greatest thing about it, is that you want new artists to still have that kind of identifier. I want to fall in love with artists, new artists now, where, you make whatever kind of music you want, but it should be important for them to know that it's more than just having fans. It's the connection, and that's kind of lacking. Like fans connect with Drake. There's a lot of songs where it's like I can relate to that. Like whether it's stories of love or whether it's stories of prosperity. It's just that's the caliber. I've never seen anyone, not to throw shade or disrespect to anyone. It's like that there's artists you hear on the radio where you just like the song. It's cool to hear in a club. It's cool because it makes you feel a way. It puts you in a mood in a time frame in that box. We need more timeless music, and so I'm proud of my development. I'm proud of the artists that I've got to work with. I'm proud of the artists that friends in my network have opened me up to, because these are all people that are kind of in essence carrying the torch. So as I progress to get back to on track here, from Warren Central to IUPUI, after really saying to myself, I want to craft my way to hone the business of it. Graduated from IUPUI and moved to San Francisco, California, where I went to law school. And just like going to college, everyone has their core curriculum, and then you get to structure around it depending on what you want to have your emphasis in. And I graduated from law school, top 10% of my class. I never took the bar. So Okay, you're not a lawyer. Well, no, but I'm a Juris Doctorate, so I have my JD. But the whole point of me going to law school was because I want to know the ins and outs of the music business, to be able to dissect contracts, to be able to ensure that my artists are getting what they're supposed to be getting. So you have artists that love me across the board because that's important to them. You know, the only case I could never take, I was a first-year law student, and hieroglyphics is like, man, we're owed so much money from 93 to infinity. I'm like, hey, man, I'm like 3 weeks deep in law school. I'm figuring out with this one. But it's awesome when you work with good people. Like, there's a lot of record labels that like working with me because they know I'm fair with it. I'll make sure there's enough good things in this contract for you guys to thrive and eat how you want to eat. I'll make sure that my artists are also, you know, taken care of as well. For instance, on the new Ghostface Killer deal, on average, label issues a contract, make my revisions, I send it back. So two different revisions. 13 revisions on this Ghostface Killer contract, just because I'm not going to let the artist not get their just due. I'm not going to take any shorts. So coming into my own, more on the business side, it was my brother who originally started the company Holy Toledo Productions for film. And he had let the company name go by the wayside, and I'm like, well, just like I used to steal your clothes and your CDs and stuff, I'm taking your company name. So that's mine. And now that, of course, you know, now that we've made the cover of Nouveau, we're fucking humongous. You know, my brother wants it back. Like the Rolling Stone mention and Source and XXL from last week means nothing. Nouveau, I was there. So it's been. I'll still do live shows. Things like that every now and again. I love the live performance. I love being. It's literally the only workout I get now, and I don't get enough booking, so I need some more. But other than writing music, I've realized this from the onset. When I take on a new client, and like I've wanted to do another M80 album, another Almighty album for like 3-4 years now, but every time I work with someone new, anything that's my personal self-interest has to take the back seat. So, people ask, when are you going to finish your book? Well, 3 years ago, I was halfway done, but now it's back to square one because some of these stories in the book have changed. It's something I'm writing in chronological order of literally my development, my best stories from working on albums, from the tour, things of that nature, or various tourings. And I'm really appreciative for that. There's a chapter with an artist where it's like, one of us was going to die, either him or me. It was that serious, and now we're both here at the same festival. And things are all good. And it's like, and he knows the reality of it, I know the reality. So, the best part is, I learned early on to have a plan, to work my plan, and do whatever I can do, in good faith, to ensure that I'm here for as long as possible. That's another debate where people look at artists of, say, yesteryear, 80s, 90s, even, just new millennium, and say, well, Snoop Dogg's a household name, or Wiz Khalifa's a household name, or whoever it may be, and question whether some of these artists coming now will have that kind of same mainstay. And the answer to that is only time will tell. But that's important. There's people that get in it because they want, money's the motivator, or get in, get out, kind of like an athlete going straight from high school to the pros kind of thing. And while it makes sense, I'm in it because I wanted a career in music, in the music business, and fortunately for me, I've been able to tackle that and do it successfully from literally every aspect: the artist, the executive, the legal admin, the A&R, the booking agent, the tour manager. And so when people ask, yes, it's my dream job because I literally can't envision myself doing anything else. Companies hire me like on a per project basis to work albums, things of that nature, but I know I can't ever work for someone. I'm one of those where I can't take orders. So it was fun while I worked here in Indy and did a lot of concert productions with Live Nation. But even that was a thing, where it's like, goddamn, if we could fire you, we would, but you work for yourself, so I guess do better next time and win. It's one of those, just one of those things, personality trait, where I like to approach it with a smile, but usually people I'm smiling at aren't smiling back. But the best part is like, I want to impress that upon you the most. It's literally about telling yourself, you know, I learned, I think it was somewhere between, I'd say 6th grade and my senior year of high school, setting goals, short-term goals, long-term goals, working those goals. I learned from RZA, you know, they have that video playing literally every day online, like the genius of RZA and his 5-year plan for the Wu-Tang Clan. I've had 4 or 5-year plans that I've seen to fruition year in and year out. And that's the greatest thing, because we wake up in the morning every day. We do the same shit every day. Go to the same clubs every day. Same everything. It's all routine. It's all systematic. And people don't set their goals. They don't work their plans. You have ideas that never see fruition. And if I had to say at the most basic form, what's attributable to the success is the planning, the implementation, the work, that's literally the only difference. And it's a different world between everyone in this room that says in the hip-hop community and every other genre of music. Because rappers and people in our industry love to make their art, and I'd like to assume you're genuinely proud of what you created, but we push it, we promote it, we get people to want to buy it, to make sure that we're getting just due for our art. My brother works in the opposite world. He works in rock. And he's like, God damn, man, I got all these artists, talented, more talented than you. I'm like, thanks, Dick. More talented than you, but no hustle, no drive, no follow-through. You can't just be an artist that creates art anymore. In any world. You can't be a painter that just paints and thinks someone's going to be, oh, you want $5,000 for this? Sure. How many of you sold for $5,000? Oh, none? Okay, cool. I'll give you $15. Some guy made a Wu-Tang thing in downtown LA, and he's like, give me $1,000. I'm like, I'll give you $300 for this. Or, you know, like, I did that at fucking Orange. Like, you know, it's totally subjective. And the thing is, if you don't understand that, if you don't realize that if you choose, I'm making music, but I'm not going to work my plan, or I make music and I also have a job, but if you're not going to set aside a stipend from your check every week or bi-weekly or monthly, whatever it is, to put into your art, you're not doing it right. You know, I have people that have wanted to buy a feature from me for $500 for 5 years, still saving up. It's not okay. I tell them, keep your money, don't give it to me, it's not going to help you. Take your money, do something smart with it. Or creating music, but not having a plan to get your music to the masses. There's a man standing right in front of me right here, Matt Sims from Stop Beefing Radio. I still pay this guy, to this day, to push certain records for me. I pay, and maybe that's part of why people like me, and I'm totally fine with it. There's never anyone I've ever worked with that can say I did something for him for free. Because that's these people's occupation, that's their career. Like, I have friends that work at Foot Locker. I'd love some free shoes. They don't give them to me. I go in there and buy them. And that's just what it is. And that's really, as basic as it sounds, I kind of feel like that Gary guy up here. You know, I feel like I should be that Gary guy. I kind of feel like, I mean, he's older, but I'm the original Gary. Whatever the fuck. I should have a K-Swiss shoe. Someone make a call on that for me.
Gary V.
Yeah, you know. That's the whole point. There's so much talent, not only in this room, in the city of Indianapolis, and you might be like, well, he's living his dream, he's doing it. Why isn't this guy, who might have more fans than me, on? This, you know, I could probably name 10 people that even I'd say are probably more talented artists than me, or should have a more, or should be where they're at. You shouldn't possess this talent knowing you have it, but not be able to scrape rent together, let's say. That's the problem. And I've caught a lot of flack, which is very easy to just brush off because it's like their own original lane. They have at least put the steps in. I mean, look where we're at right now. This is put together because an artist thought, hey, I would like to do something that's bigger than me, that benefits something greater than me, and involve damn near the whole city. I mean, there's a lot of artists, so everyone can't get on. But the fact of the matter is, he shouldn't have to catch any shit about it. He doesn't have, Orlando Jones doesn't have to extend that olive branch. I brokered record deals for 4 or 5 different artists from Indiana. I don't have to do that. The commission can't even cut it. It doesn't cut it. It's things I did for indie. Live Nation used to really like, hey, we wish you would just shut your mouth on this one. At the end of the year, when I'm done producing all these concerts, I go in with my financial breakdown sheet, a little pie chart and all that shit. I'm like, see that 1.7%? That's what you guys made me this year. So I did the shit for cool points. Chicago was a hop, skip, and a jump away. And their talent pool is insane. And there's A&Rs and executives that are there looking for new talent. I remember it was 2012, maybe that was the year, 2011, 2012, where Andy Barber was responsible for damn near a dozen artists from Chicago getting signed, to where other A&Rs and executives call me like, so what are you working on? Who do you got? I'd spot my list up and be like, you got anyone from Chicago? Like, they didn't even care. Anyone from Chicago? If you're from Chicago, well, they'll give you a record deal right then and there. Indie, the artists that are really killing it right now are making that known, are making their presence known to the right eyes, the right ears. People are looking. And it wasn't like that before because artists used to just emulate what they were seeing. So a lot of artists from indie sounded like Atlanta. A lot of artists from indie sounded like New York. Whatever was trending at that time was what indie was gravitating to. And so why would an executive look here for an emulation of something they can find in the original source? And that is equally as important. Staying true to who you are. I'd like to assume that if I came out with a new M80 album now, I'd probably sell more than ever because you've got to know more of me, through social media and things like that. You get to see the personality, the funny side. In business, as the artist, you want to, artists have to be friendly. Artists have to, you want as many people as possible to like you because these are potential consumers. So, people to support financially, whether they like your product or not. The converse side of that, as the executive, I'm not in it to be liked. I'm in it to make sure that my artists are happy, my family's happy, and I can live how I want to live. And it's crazy to say that because I'm definitely more hated, but these are things that they have no bearing. I sleep just fine, and the lightning woke me up this morning, but I went right back to bed, right after that. And I'd like at this time to open up to any Q&A because I think your questions and my answers are going to be a little bit more on focus. But hopefully, the synopsis of this gets you, at least in the mind frame, moving forward for all the artists, for all the people here that are supporting our arts community. We appreciate you, especially. We go, especially in hip-hop, we go to a lot of shows where we don't see genuine, just fans anymore. Yeah. Everyone is something pertaining to, well, I'm an artist as well, I'm an MC. I still go to shows as fans. Even when working with Wu-Tang Clan, New Year's we did Vegas, and everyone's on stage, and I'm dead center, because I just want to, I like to enjoy it, I like to fan out sometimes. It's hard for me, because I work in the industry on all sides, just to meet an artist and be like, I like you, I like your music. And that's all I want to say and just walk away, nothing more than that. But it's hard to even get that across because it's always, you want to fuck with me? I'm like, no, I came to enjoy your music tonight and I enjoyed it. And thank you for leaving. But if anyone has any questions, I'd like to open it up. Noah, go ahead. I appreciate your ears, everyone.
I'll be honest with you, M80 was the dude from Indianapolis, right? And we used to do open mics every Wednesday at LJ's, a little Southside bar. Yeah. This guy made he came to damn near every one. He didn't have to, but everybody there appreciated it. And I want to tell you thank you for all that, because you don't know, but that meant a lot to me. But I want to give you my question. I want to say, of all the artists that you represented, you ever had that oh my God moment, I am representing this person?
I just executive produced the new Ghostface Killer album. Top 10. I mean, no, but this is that answer. I came up with an idea, and I presented it to Ghostface and his manager, and they're like, okay, that's great, but we need twice the budget. Twice. And the original idea was supposed to be Ghostface Kill Chreece, that together with Big Ghost. Now, Ghostface says, wait, isn't this the guy that like people think is me? Fuck that guy. It makes me look stupid. Like, he's citing examples like, you know, if I do this project, this camp's gonna hate me, this camp's gonna hate me. I played him the music. I went through like 100 beats. I picked, I think, like 15. And he's like, this is exactly what I want right now. How's that budget coming on? Like, we're good. That's all together. So I did a record in 2005 called Wu-Tang Meets the Indie Culture. It was the second highest selling independent rap album of the year behind Danger Doom with MF Doom and Danger Mouse. And that record, we'd spent like 80 grand out of pocket, got our deal for like 100 something. The record went on to make over $1 million. I got paid $2,000. That shit was like where I was like, I can't work for anyone. Like, if I did something that's gonna make $1 million, I want as much of that as possible. So this Ghostface deal, I put it together. I funded the whole thing, and I mean, I'm talking like I could have bought a house here. Like, here's cash. Thank you. This is my house now. And went and you know, brokered. Unlike I've done 60 plus albums. I was able to finesse the situation, and finesse is literally the most appropriate word to use because everyone's still scratching their head on this one. There's an album. There's remixes. I sold the rights to the remixes to a label. Then we sit in a marketing meeting and they're like, I'm talking about the rollout for the album. And they're like, wait, whoa, we just bought it. I'm like, no, you bought the remixes. So then I got them to get the digital. Then I took all the physical product to Europe and brokered a deal with Dope Media. And if any of you are familiar with Dope Media, it's like the greatest thing in the world. This company is so good at their job, they can literally say, hey, we're taking like 50%, and you can't argue it. Because they've never had an artist title they've released that lasted in their store for more than 1 day.
Damn.
We've tested it with a couple of my artists. We did an album for Husk Kingpin called Cocaine Beach. I think we made $32,000 in 12 minutes. Vic Spencer from Chicago, $25,000 in 8 minutes. West Side Gun, who signed to Eminem, and they don't even need Shady Records or Eminem or any of that. They have that cult following. They're new. $75,000 in 8 minutes. Shit like that. So there's going to be Ghostface vinyl, cassettes, and CD with that company. Then I have 1,000 copies that Ghostface signed posters for. So it's like they're going to have, like a Ghostface fan, a Wu-Tang fan might buy this album 3 or 4 times. Because like the artwork you get on my version is going to be different than you get from Dope Media. There's going to be a black vinyl and a silver vinyl, X, Y, and Z. So back to that's my most like wow moment. Someone that's you can go to any library, any bookstore, and pick up a hip hop book. Who's the top 50 artists in the world? And Ghostface is going to be in that list every time. And his friends were making fun of him, like, "Hey, you were signed to Def Jam, and now you're with M80." And I don't think it's funny because like I might be 10 years younger than a Lear Cohen or a Steve Rifkin, but we all know if you're making level comparisons, I'm there. Jeff?
Yeah, you mentioned something about some of the artists that are way more talented than you that haven't done as much. Now, I've always found this to be true that most of my really brilliant artist friends aren't the best businessmen. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those things where you have your foot in both worlds.
Yes.
So you're very, very intelligent and good, and you see the whole picture. Whereas some artists are like so focused on their creativity that they can't, they can't get out of that and think about the business part of it. So
Sure.
It's like when you're saying save as an artist, like that's you save as an artist so you can buy the help to get you through those parts that make you a better business person. You know what I mean? And it's weird because I'm not going to name names, but I know so many people that are so good at what they do, but it's like they have a hard time making money. You figure out a way to do both because of your education and your experience, and then what do you recommend for people, that are trying to find that extra leg or that?
It's awesome to give this answer now because it's like the most hypocritical shit I can say. Like I have a retarded shoe collection. What I used to say in the past, instead of buying that pair of shoes you want, that same amount of money is 1,000 posters or 5,000 stickers. Buckshots in the building. Oh man. Bernadette says, what's up, bro?
You always have fun.
Thank you, buddy. That's the thing, it's like, we don't need to live as extravagant as we may think because we see extravagance on the television or in media. If you're a starting out artist, if you're up and coming, there's things you can do for yourself, one for free, as far as, releasing your own music, coming up with ideas of how you're going to create and not just have to give it on SoundCloud, things like that. Bandcamp is an example where people can list their music for whatever amount of money they want. And you're going to get your people that will take it for free. You're also going to get your people that really want to see you win. And hey, here's $1, here's whatever they're giving. But Jeff, for your question specifically, any material thing you might want to spend money on can go to building your brand, can go to building yourself as a recognizable artist, as an identified artist. And that's something I did well here when it was I was more on the artist side of the coin than on the industry side of it. And, I made sure the CDs were always the nicest with the 6 panels and the artwork and the stickers and the posters and the merch. We had all that. And artists are really skipping out on that aspect of it now.
Is it important, or, they're going to have to sign a 360 deal, or is the points on the 360 deal more important? Where do you stand on these new deals that artists are getting these days?
Make sure I stay on path on this one, because there's 3 parts. Well, no, because seriously. Yes, the contract dissection is important. And 2, when you hear artists that hey, they're offering this person $3 million, $5 million, $20 million, whatever it is, a label structures their advances. One, it's mathematics, but for new artists, it's the amount of money they feel comfortable with. In essence, if they're offering someone, let's say, $1 million, they're looking at your product like it's going to make them 3. Minimum of 3. It's multiples of 3. And when this is what artists, I learned new shit. Being a music executive is like being a doctor. Sometimes procedures change. You have to relearn publishing. You have to they update the shit, copyrights, the whole 9. It changes. What you get paid, for streaming services, like you name. People that invented streaming services, they're the ones who decided this is what we're going to pay the artists. If they want to be as righteous as they're coming across, it would be a little bit more fair to the artists. 1,500, 1,600 streams is equivalent to an album sale. So that's your $10, but the guy, Spotify's like 2 years old. He's a billionaire, right? So, goddamn, that point was important. I was getting off it. So, the advance is not the most important thing. Because, okay. So if you take the advance, let's say it's $3 million. So follow me on this with my hands. You take the $3 million, so you've put the label here. Okay, this is the quote. They make the $3 million back. Now in your contract, you read it and you're like, after you recoup advance and expenses, then we have our split point, 50-50, 60-40, 80-20, whatever it is. So the product makes $3 million. You're back here. The label is like, cool, okay? But they're a record label, they're a business. They have staff, they have mortgages, rents, bills, X, Y, and Z. So the artist over here is like, cool, I'm going to start getting checks. Maybe they've spent all that money, maybe they invested, hopefully they did something smart with it. But that's not the case. And I just learned this shit. So other executives were laughing at me like, you've been paying these artists the whole time? You should ask them for the money back. I'm not doing that. But, so they make their $3 million back. They're here. The artist thinks that they're going to start seeing some money. Then the label wants to make another $3 million. Okay? That covers bills and shit, or so they'll claim. Then another $3 million. So when they made their original 3 back plus an extra 6, then you start seeing your split point. That is absolute fuckery. It's not my fault that you have an office, that you have staff to pay, that you have bills. Those are your operational costs. You sign me, you want me as talent. So either we make it together or we're not. And the fact that a lot of these executives, I know executives in New York that can't even go to their own artist showcases. Yeah. I'm fortunate enough I can still walk freely. It's a good thing, but that's because I do right. I have my operation costs and shit, but that's, they get worked in. So when I learned that, literally after 10 years of treating it literal, like, okay, if I advanced you 50 grand and we made it back and I made my expenses, now we're splitting money. And executives telling me that I could have kept that, it was mind-blowing to me. So yes, an advance is important depending on who you are. Like, what are your means? What do you need? And sometimes that outweighs the fact that you believe in yourself. You believe that eventually you'll make that money. And it's really up to the person to decide where they're at in their life, whether they're taking that amount of money or not. But if you don't take the money, if you don't take the advance, all the label has really is whatever the associated costs are. They don't get to then work in their operational costs. Like, if you're taking 0 in your split point, you're literally making money from day one. So I have artists that go both ways. I have artists, pause. I have the Guinness World Record for longest freestyle in the world for 9 hours and 15 minutes, previously held by Supernat from 2009 to 2011. The only, and it's changed hands, and they've even changed the category now. It was freestyle rap before. They call it endurance rap now. And so Murs did 24 hours, but under the category endurance rap. So if you watched it, for like 3 hours he rapped Snoop Dogg songs. Wow. I freestyle rap 9 hours. Like, here's a dry race board, people can write on the shit. Someone threw a shoe up on stage, probably, I don't know if they wanted me to rap about the shoe or just wanted to hit me, I rap about the shoe. Rapped to People magazine for 45 minutes front to back. So the only reason my name still gets brought up when the record continuously gets broke, because to date I'm the only person that did a rap event for Guinness for charity, and we raised enough money to fund a middle school in Nigeria. So like 2,000 kids get to go to school because I rap. The coolest thing was when they would send like notes, like little like thank you notes and shit, and they're on like, remember the big perforated pieces of paper you had in kindergarten, like with the big lines? So I like those. It was very nice. The Instagram game is good, because people like, I can't go on Facebook every day. I can't go on any of the social media sites and be like, just hit them over the head, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. People need to see, like, people appeal to you on the humanistic side of it. So I'm glad that people know me as the shrewd business guy or as the artist guy, but there's so much more than that. So that's why it's like, I like to have fun. I like to, be family oriented and go with my friends and such. So I want you to enjoy the same kind of quality of life that I'm enjoying, and in my reality of it, not with the front world. And yes, Adolfo is security in my casino. So he's sitting. It scares the shit out of people when they walk in for the first time and see a bloke doll fully clothed. Yes, sir.
What's number one? I guess what's the tip that you think of an artist that's just trying to get exposed to things like sell an album? It's like trying to get exposed. I guess get fans.
This is when I take people pay me for consultations at least like once a week, and then whether they decide to hire me for more services from there. The majority of them don't. They get what they can for their money out of the consultations and run with it for the year. What I recommend is this. We have all these different social media platforms. You pick your favorite one that is a hub. Like, I usually recommend Facebook as a fan page for likes. That is the page where you're posting as much content as possible. Here's a video of me doing whatever. Like, I post way more shit of me outside of work capacity than work capacity now. But it's for the dual purpose of showing that there's, a human behind the rap guy. So through the Facebook thing, that's what builds the fans. That's what builds the audience. Here's me in the studio. Here's me having dinner. Here's, me previewing new music. Anything and everything you can do, which costs you nothing other than your time. Then from there, you trickle that from the one page out to the other pages. Your Twitter, your Instagram, your whatever else exists. I don't know. I use the 3 of them. Then from that page, you want to kind of do your own analytics and make sure the growth. You want to see the growth. So I had 3 artists that I worked with from 2010 to 2013 that I recommended as artists. If you're recording as much as you should be, you have songs that are album worthy. You have songs that are mixtape worthy. You have songs that maybe are just for promotions, like if you're rapping over someone's beat or whatever it is. Once a week, release the music and watch the analytics build up. Every one of those artists got record deals before week 20. And that's the greatest thing. And I learned that because I executive produced an A&R in Crooked Eye's last couple albums. And Crooked Eye was the first one to do that. He partnered with Hip Hop DX. So they gave him the platform because they knew it was from the Death Row era. But he did a 52-week freestyles. And so I took that from him, but I used it for 3 artists that all got record deals before week 20. And then they stopped. And this goes back to the work ethic. They weren't working their plan. They assumed that they got the record deal and that was the end-all be-all. That's where they wanted to be. Everything is a hurdle. I've never even had a celebration of sorts, like when a project gets signed, when a tour gets booked, because greatness is what's expected. But that is my initial recommendation when I'm doing these consultations, and I put together a timeline of what you're supposed to be doing over the course of 90 to 180 days, in hopes that once that timeline expires, they hire me. But I hope that answers the question.